The roar of the engines faded into silence. At 9,000 meters above the clouds, the unthinkable happened. The aircraft's engines failed, leaving the plane powerless and hurtling through thin air. Panic flashed across the cockpit, but amidst the chaos, a young pilot remained astonishingly calm. Only a kid, barely out of training, yet somehow holding the fate of everyone on board in his hands. Far below, the ground seemed impossibly distant, and every second stretched into a lifetime. Then, through the crackle of emergency radio, a call sign pierced the tension, one that would change everything. The F-22s, patrolling nearby, caught the transmission. But what could a single call from a kid mean at this altitude, when every maneuver had to be perfect, and one wrong move could be fatal? Families, friends, and fellow pilots all depended on a miracle in the sky, and the young pilot's quick thinking was the only hope. The question lingered like a shadow over the clouds: would the response come in time, or was this mission destined to end in disaster? Stay with us, because what happens next isn't just about survival, it's about courage, instinct, and the unbelievable chain of events triggered by a single call sign in the sky. The kid, barely 16, wasn't supposed to be on this flight. He had trained for years in simulators, memorized every protocol, but nothing could have prepared him for this. His name had circulated through the squadron quietly, talented, fearless, but still a rookie in the eyes of experienced pilots. Today, that reputation would be tested like never before. The F-22s overhead were a blur against the endless blue, their pilots scanning instruments and skies, trying to interpret the desperate call. They had never seen a situation like this: a single trainee, in a powerless aircraft, at cruising altitude, calling out for help. Radar blips flickered, tension radiated through every cockpit. Back in the kid's cabin, the smell of smoke and heated metal filled the air. Alarms screamed, and every instinct screamed for action, yet he had to think clearly. One wrong move could send the plane spiraling. Thoughts of home, of training, of everyone depending on him flashed like lightning, but he forced himself to focus. Meanwhile, the mission control team on the ground watched the unfolding scene with a mix of disbelief and dread. Every decision had to be precise, every second counted. The question hung over the skies: would the F-22s reach him in time, or was this climb into the unknown doomed before it even began? The kid's hands gripped the controls, knuckles white, as he fought against the unforgiving pull of gravity. Every maneuver had to be precise, even a fraction of a miscalculation could send the plane into an uncontrollable spin. In his mind, training sequences ran on repeat, mixing with flashes of fear and flashes of hope. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He carried the lives of the crew, the trust of the F-22 pilots above, and the watchful eyes of mission control below. Above him, the F-22s adjusted formation, communicating through tight, clipped radio commands. Their pilots debated the options: intercept and guide, attempt mid-air assistance, or simply track from a safe distance. Each choice carried risks they had never been trained to calculate for a teenager in a failing aircraft. The radar screens flickered as new threats: turbulence, sudden wind shear, and the unpredictable behavior of a powerless plane added layers of danger. Meanwhile, on the ground, families of those on board waited, unaware of the precise danger, yet sensing the tension in every news bulletin. Engineers, veteran pilots, and emergency teams scrambled to provide guidance, their voices calm but urgent over the radio. Inside the plane, the kid made a sudden calculation, eyes darting from instruments to horizon. Somewhere in the distance, the F-22s responded, but would it be enough? Every heartbeat echoed the question: could courage and split-second decisions truly outweigh the deadly odds stacked against him? The kid's breaths came in shallow bursts, each one measured against the rapid descent of the powerless plane. The sky around him seemed endless, a blur of clouds and sunlight, yet below stretched nothing but miles of open terrain. Every instrument flickered unpredictably, every warning light a reminder that time was slipping away. The F-22s hovered like vigilant guardians, their sleek forms cutting through the air as they tracked his erratic movements, ready to react, but even they had limits. Mission Control's voices crackled urgently over the radio, blending calm instructions with barely suppressed panic. Adjust pitch, maintain altitude, hold steady. Every word was critical, every second a lifeline. The crew's faces, pale and tense, reflected the impossible stakes. One wrong move from the kid could send the plane spiraling, endangering not only him but everyone depending on him in the air and on the ground. Suddenly, turbulence ripped through the cabin, throwing the plane into a violent sway. The F-22s responded instantly, banking sharply to anticipate the next movement. Below, engineers calculated trajectories, trying to predict the unthinkable. Time seemed to stretch, each heartbeat amplified by fear, hope, and sheer determination. The kid's eyes locked on the horizon, mind racing through calculations and maneuvers. The world held its breath with him, waiting for a moment that could change everything. And then, as if the sky itself paused, the next second promised either salvation or disaster. Just as the kid managed to stabilize the plane for a brief heartbeat, another alarm shrieked through the cockpit, this time, from a system he hadn't even had time to check. The hydraulics were failing. Controls that had been responding now jerked unpredictably, making every attempt at correction a gamble. The F-22s above adjusted, but even their superior speed and agility couldn't compensate for the sudden mechanical betrayal.